Hello there, this is Lauren with Bold Notion Quilting, and if you are joining me today, you are getting ready to do our Quilt Along with this cute little bunny panel from Stacey Yacula. She designed this for Quilting Treasures. You can get it on fabric.com if you'd like to order it and join us next week as we continue along with this. Before we get started, you're going to want to mark off the sections that we're doing today. So I've got all my thread colors. I've got my green, this is like an off-white gray color that matches the lighter colors in the bunny. And then I've got this light blue. On my actual machine, I have my pinks because we're gonna do everything with the pink today. So we're gonna start our way from the outside and work our way in. And what I've done, as you can see, I've marked off the corner here. So what you're gonna do is you're going to take, let me move this over, I just took a little Omnigrid ruler and I lined it up with my corner, and I've marked on either side just from the top of this border to section off my corner so I know where my leaf is going to go. And then what I've done is I've marked every 2.5 inches was about perfect. I went 2.5 inches and then I marked a dot so I know the difference. You can do lines if it's easier for you to section off. And you do it all the way till you get to the last corner here. And then you do the same thing. You put this even with the corner and you mark off the edges. And then all I've done for the other one that I didn't do here, and I wanted to show you just in case, is I've got my ruler lined up from one corner to the next. And I'm just gonna mark a straight line across. That way, whatever design I'm doing in it, I can try to get it in the right angle for my corner. If you've noticed, I've got these little leaves and circles here. It's gonna show you my design. I hope you can see this well with the green. Try to get that under there. Can you see that okay? So what we're doing is we're gonna do a little swoop and a leaf. So I'm going actually to get another darker marker. Show you just how we're going to do this design. So every 2.5 inches we have a marked area. I'm going to go ahead and erase that. Too hard to erase. We're going to move this up. Okay, so we are actually going to start by doing a leaf to a point, and we're going to give it a little middle stem. Then we're going to come up. We're gonna do like a gentle S-curve, come up, do a little rounded type hook, and then we're gonna come around right over that dot, that's our middle line. We're gonna do another leaf. And then we're gonna come around. I'm worried you guys won't be able to see this as well while I'm quilting, so I wanted to explain it to you. And we're gonna do another little leaf petal here, like a single flower petal. Then we're going to come down, do our leaf. Then we're going to come up and around, single flower petal. Kind of dive in, kind of drive your needle into that line, then swoop it around. Oh, now I'm hitting my handles. Okay. So that's kind of the idea, and we're gonna do that until we go all the way across. Now the pattern is not even. I will not end up with a leaf in my corner. I'll end up with a single feather petal, and I'm totally fine with that. If you're not fine with that, you can mess with the design a little bit to try to get that leaf in the corner, but I'm happy to have them alternating. It's gonna be super cute either way. So as we get started, we're gonna go ahead and tack down our thread. I'm using a pink on top and a white on bottom. And actually what I'm going to do, I don't want to tack that off that close to the border. I want to be able to cut that off. A lot of people will do a basting stitch here. If you're not a sit-down quilter and you don't have the whole thing pinned or spray basted, they'll do like a 1/2 inch basting stitch. I really don't like doing that. It's not my friend. It's not my friend when I'm cutting either, so when I'm squaring it off. So I just do like where my binding would be, I do like a squiggle. I like it that way. And one great thing about this is that I can look at my stitches, how they're gonna be when I'm actually quilting, and see, is that white gonna come up poking through the top? Am I gonna have any problems with tension or otherwise? So as I do each side, I adjust my tension as I go, and it's looking pretty good. So I'm just gonna get that on there. And this is just to keep my panel nice and square. Keep everything down in the right place. And if you'll notice, I'm actually using 2 layers of batting. I'm just using some scrap pieces that I had, so I actually have 1 layer of cotton and 1 layer of wool. It's gonna give me a super fluffy, fuzzy effect. I'm gonna get a lot of depth in my quilting. Okay, and I'm just gonna tack that off. And since I'm so close to the edge, I am actually just gonna clip. So make sure you've got your thread snips handy. I'm gonna try and do as much of this as possible without having to clip and tie, but we shall see where we go. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm so excited. Alrighty, so we're gonna start in this corner, and remember, if you're going to cut this panel right even with the pink, you don't want your design to hit the very top of your panel because your binding will cut that off. So keep that in mind. I probably will cut mine about 1/4 of an inch outside, since I've got plenty of gray on each side and white on the top and the bottom. So I'm tacking off my threads. I like to do 3 or 4 stitches. If the fabric matches the thread, then you don't have to worry so much about it showing. So we're gonna start this side with a leaf. We're just gonna do a little gentle S-curve up, little swoop back, and a little stamen in the middle. And if you'll notice, it doesn't matter if you get right on that line. It actually adds character, I think, for it to not be touching, kind of look more like a ribbon. We're gonna come up, do our little single feather. Then you're gonna take that and curve down, flick up to do your leaf, do your little stem, and then you're gonna repeat the same pattern. So up, curl, swoop, single feather, come back around, flick out, S-curve leaf. When you touch that bottom line, then you come back up for the little stem, and we're gonna just repeat that process. Feather, leaf. Feather, leaf. Feather, leaf. Feather. And then, like I said, we're not gonna end this with a leaf like we did in the corner, so we're gonna do our leaf, stem in the middle, and then we're gonna come around, just make that feather a little circular. We're gonna take it down to the other side. Leaf. Now, a smart person would have marked this side portion, but I'm gonna kind of just wing it. Feather, leaf. Then I got room for 1 more before I'll have to advance my quilt. Feather. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tack off my threads right here where it won't be noticed. I did a couple stitches forward and a couple stitches back, because I'm gonna need to advance my quilt now. And you wanna put that needle, when you're finished tacking a few stitches forward and a few stitches back, you wanna try to get that needle as close to where you ended as possible, so you can pull that thread right back up through the same spot. You won't have any issues with tension. And then you don't have any threads lingering on the back of your quilt when you're done. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and advance. all you're gonna do is find that place where you tacked off the threads on that little feather portion and tack down your threads again. And what I'm doing is I'm just tacking them down a couple stitches away from where I tacked them last time, so that it doesn't look like all of the thread is kind of jumbled up in one area, because that can look pretty rough after a while. So I've done my little feather. So the next part is we're going to take a gentle C into a leaf. So we're going to come down, flick out for a leaf, stem, feather, leaf, come around it, feather. And now the beauty of tacking all of this down is that right here I can see are the last couple stitches of my pink, and I know that I can't go any farther than that if I want to stitch. So I'm just gonna do a couple stitches, and then I'm gonna tack that thread off and advance again. All right, so we left off with a feather. So next we're gonna do a leaf. And if you noticed, I'm not being super crazy about how uniform my feathers or my leaves look. I'm just doing this for fun. If the quilt police wanna come get me, they can do that later. So if you notice, I almost got caught because I was at the edge of my quilting space. That was almost really bad. That's what happens when you talk in quilt, ladies. It's dangerous. Oh, I'm so excited to do this. This is so much fun. And you notice when I get close to the edge, I don't always tack it off. I kind of just snip my threads. But it is important to make sure that you don't have any threads on the background as you go. Right, so everything but that one part that I forgot to do the last round is nice and secured down and will stay nice and square for me. So I'm gonna pull these threads up and out. And if you're not sure which thread to cut, I should have covered this earlier, one will yank your quilt sandwich and one will pull freely. The one that yanks is the one you cut, the one that's stuck, because this is actually your bobbin thread that pulls freely. So before I start stitching, what I'm going to want to do is mark off those corners real quick, so that way when I approach them, I don't accidentally intrude into them. This is just a water and air soluble Dritz marking pen. You can get by Clover, by Dritz. I have a couple different kinds. This one happens to be Dritz. All right, now we're gonna finish our last piece here. You wanna just be careful to do like 1 or 2 stitches back and 1 or 2 stitches forward. All right, so we're gonna take this and we're gonna go down, get the leaf out, get a stem, come up and around for a feather, and now we have a feather in our top right corner, a leaf in our top left corner, and now we're going to have a leaf in our bottom left corner. So that actually worked out pretty well. So I just came down and around and I made that leaf so that it pointed as best as it could into my corner. Now keep in mind, you don't want to hit this portion of your panel if you plan on squaring off your quilt. So when you're done quilting, if you plan on cutting it right along that edge, I will probably give myself 1/4 of an inch here so that I can see all of my quilting. Feather. Now I'm going upside down. Leaf. I'm going to come around and do a little feather. And a leaf. Feather. Leaf. Feather. Leaf. Feather. Oh, that was kind of a weird angle to go in for my leaf. So I'm going to come around and fix that. All right, so now I've got a feather in my bottom right corner, or I've got a leaf in my bottom right corner, and now I'm going to have a feather in my bottom left. And I just have that pointed so that I can come back around and do a leaf. Come up and do a feather. Come back and do a leaf. I'm just going to tack off my threads right at the base of that leaf. And then I'm going to work my quilt back down so that I can continue to head up toward the corner. And if you make little fumbles and some of the leaves are bigger and some are smaller, that's okay, because if you work towards having them different widths and lengths and sizes, you're actually going to find that people will not look for inconsistencies as much in your quilting because you've actually made them an inclusion. All right, so now I've got space where I can get to the bottom portion of where I quilted, so I can tack those threads off. And if you wanted to, like where mine kind of cut off a little early here and I should have tacked them down, you could have just tacked them off a couple stitches behind that and kept going. But because I went over that leaf stem twice, I'm not worried about it. So we're gonna come back around, do our feather, come back around and do our leaf. Do our feather. Oh, that was a big fat feather. Come around and do our leaf. I'm gonna tack off those threads and advance one more time, and I will be in my corner and done with my first border. Now you'll see this start to get a little kind of wobbly as I'm advancing my quilt back and forth, because it's shifting around the stuff in the middle. But it's okay, because as you quilt, that will all flatten out beautifully. I find that when I work panels from the inside out, I have more troubles with quilting out the wobbles than if I do them from the outside in. We're going to tack off our threads and we're going to finish up. And the only thing that's important when you get to the final leaf is that you just connect your design, because the whole design is connected. It goes around like a border. Leaf, feather, and then leaf. And then we're just going to do a couple of stitches back and forth to tack that down. Voila, we've completed our first border, and I would have wanted it to with all of the advancing and whatnot, but you get the idea. So we're gonna do, I'll probably drop another video tomorrow, and I'm gonna take my pink and I'm actually gonna work on the flower that's down here. We're gonna work on the flower petals. Now you could do that with the light gray, no problem, it wouldn't really show up, but I like the dark contrast of my pink being a little darker on the border. So I like what that will add for my flower. And then next week we're actually gonna work on the bunny and the inside of the flower. So we're gonna look at doing some fun following with the bunny, and then we're gonna do pebbles and stuff. So practice your pebbles. And then at the end of that video, I will show you how to lay out my version of the sun here, and we'll discuss how to stitch that in the following video. Thank you all for joining me today. This is Lauren with Bold Notion Quilting, and this is our first border on our first Quilt Along. Please like and share the video with anyone who might want to join, and subscribe to the page so that you get emailed every time the videos fall in. I will keep these videos up until the beginning of the new year, so if anyone wasn't able to follow along with us then these next couple weeks, you'll be able to do it sometime before January. Thank you so much. Take care and have